All right, everybody, welcome into the Better In-Laws podcast. It is week 12 here in the NFL. Massive week of buys. For this week, we have the Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jaguars, Saints, and Jets all on buys, and some very much needed buys. New York Jets, I might
Yeah,
say. What a
in the
friggin'
season end.
disaster that team has turned into. No shock whatsoever. Yeah, just I don't know what that organization does, Matt. I really don't.
I don't
Uh,
think anybody does.
I mean, you got the news of the GM being canned, Douglas there, and then Woody Johnson says that he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I I guess they got to trade up again in the draft and get a quarterback. I don't know. Maybe this is a Dak Prescott destination. If he becomes available in the offseason, if they want to go, the Cowboys want to go the Shadur Sanders and Deion Sanders route, which I think would be actually pretty smart on their end. Um, but man, it would suck to be a Jets fan. It's just bad.
It's so bad.
It's really bad for that organization. But you know what? Fuck them. That's what I say.
Your
Matt,
heart
how are
breaks.
you?
I'm all right, Tuck. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, you're just all right. Yeah.
I'm all right.
Well, what's going
My
on?
football enjoyment's not great these days.
No, yeah,
Mm.
another 2 and 3 week for both of us. I mean, 2 and 3 Tuck sticks, Matt, but 2 and 3 Matt doesn't roll off the tongue exactly.
No,
So
no,
what the hell's
not
going on?
not good. Not good, Tuck. Not feeling good. Just a little bit of a rut. We came out really hot, right? Come out hitting 70%. You do expect some regression. So we're there. Um, Still hitting at 55% on the year, so we're okay.
Okay.
But we still want to bounce back here. Still want to bounce back. Got the best bet back on track last week.
Yeah,
Looking to
and that was your
continue that streak.
largest best bet
Largest wager,
season.
Steelers.
So that is huge.
That was very big for my week. Yeah, financially, it was an okay week,
Yeah.
but still on the show, 2 and 3. Of course, the two plays I played outside of the show hit. So, that was a little bit annoying.
What hit that you didn't give out on the show, and why didn't you give it out on the show?
Uh, well, as we said on the show, numbers move a little bit. I did give it out on your radio station, Providence. I gave out the Rams -4.
WE.
Yep, WEI. We gave out the Rams -4 on Sunday morning. That line came down enough that was playable to me. That came down to 3.5 in some spots. So had a little 4, had a little 3.5. So that was a nice hit.
All
And then
right.
the other game I had played, looking at this quickly, was Buffalo. I did play Buffalo at -1.5. Um, Against the Chiefs, which you played on the show, which was a
I
nice
did.
little, nice
Now,
play, nice
why did
win.
you jump on that side?
I was on Buffalo actually at Showtime.
Oh, okay.
It was,
Seventh win.
I was flipping a coin between Buffalo and Atlanta for the show. And like an idiot, put Atlanta in my card, and that did not go well. Talk about a team that looked like they quit in the second half. My God, Atlanta.
Yeah, you really haven't had a bet that lost that quick in recent memory or ever. I don't recall like
That
you're
was ugly.
like we've seen plenty of my picks being like, okay, wrong side, you're fucked like multiple times this year. But for you to do that, I've not seen that out of you.
Yeah, I did not see that game coming. Yeah, it blindsided me. We saw Michael Penix in the second half. I
Yeah, let's put it
just
that way.
didn't see that coming. They were just as flat as it gets after losing to New Orleans. I thought that would be a bounce back spot for them. I thought Denver would be defeated
Hmm?
after losing that gut game against Kansas City. Didn't happen.
No,
I'll continue to play that spot in those situations though. Like
yeah.
that spot situationally hits on the dog in that situation. So it's not you're gonna lose some. It happens. I didn't see that coming at all, but that was as ugly as it got. Really quick.
You know what I didn't understand, and I lost a second straight week of a best bet. Um, the Browns thing, like that was competitive early on, and it looked like the Browns was the right side, and then friggin' Taysom Hill just turned into Walter Payton.
Taysom
Like,
Hill.
what the hell?
I hate that guy.
He pisses me
I-
off so much. It's like, what are you? What are you? Are you a tight end? Are you a running back? Are you a quarterback? Make your fucking choice.
ugh,
I don't know, man.
I can't stand the guy.
But
Yeah,
they
that was
just
a double
ran
like
away
for
with it.
us.
They just ran away with it.
That was brutal. I was on Cleveland as well, as you know. Didn't go well. Did not go well for us.
Yeah, we have a bad streak of double likes now.
3 missed field goals for Cleveland again. First half,
Yeah.
Hopkins kept hooking them. I'm like, what's happening? You can't leave points on the board if you're the
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns ever. Um, so yeah, that was 0-3 in our last 3 double likes. We started out, I think, 5-0 to go back and look. Um, so 5-3 in the year now, I think it is with double likes to go back.
Yeah. All right.
What's interesting to me now that I'm looking at the tab here, Tuck, 13 games with all the bye weeks this week. It's only 13 games. One of those Thursday night football, which we don't play. So out of the 12 games, we're picking 10 of them. We have 0 double likes.
I did have a double like and I took it off. I'll say
Oh,
that. And I'll let you know which game that was. Actually, I had
okay.
two. Actually, looking at it now, I had two double likes that I took off. But you know,
Okay.
it's better for the podcast if we don't have two double likes, especially in a short slate of games. Um, so it's better for our audience to give different angles for this.
Well,
Uh,
let's see. I'm curious who they were. Um,
yeah, yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
okay.
But yeah, why don't you? So we were both 2-3. Lions smashed for me. Bills was really never in doubt. Bengals almost squeaked it out, but Chargers are red hot right now, and
Mm,
that was it.
Another game I'm mad at myself I didn't
Oh,
play
and then the
last.
Rams Patriots total because they don't know how to make adjustments on defense. Apparently, that went over on 44.5. Finished at what, 47? So I got posed on that. So
Weird game plan. Christian Gonzalez covering Demarcus Robinson.
not weird,
Didn't
man.
understand that.
Not weird. It's expected and it's dumb and it needs to change.
Yeah.
Especially from a defensive oriented coach. It's stunning. It's stunning that they didn't make any adjustments there, and I think that was Gerard Mayo's worst game of his career. I
Right.
do. That,
Yeah.
that was, that was
I can't say it wasn't. That was
I mean, like I'm no football expert in terms of X's and O's, but like I'm putting Christian Gonzalez on Puka Nakua, and I'm worrying about doubling up Cooper Cup, and that's pretty much it. Like
yeah.
I'm sticking solo coverage on Puka, and I'm putting Jonathan Jones on Cooper Cup and bringing in some safety help on Cooper Cup, and that's it. Like to put Christian Gonzalez on the opposite side of the field, and Sean McVay, the elite coach that he is, recognized this after the first quarter, maybe halfway through the first quarter. He's like, "Oh, okay, they're just keeping Gonzalez on the left side of the field. So I'm gonna go to the right side of the field. Like complete opposite.
Easy.
Just dumb that they didn't make that adjustment. So
I did say on the podcast last week that I was going to be on the Rams. Kept coming down. That's a huge coaching mismatch, and that played out.
yeah.
I mean that we saw that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, 2-3 for you, Tuck.
Yep.
Bet, but best bet bounce back this week for you. Let's go.
Yeah, I need it. I need it. And I'm gonna keep it simple this week and we'll get to that later on. Quick show announcement here. Do you remember what we did this time last year, Matt?
Ooh, right around
Thanksgiving week.
Thanksgiving. I know we
Thanksgiving.
did like a Tuesday podcast for the Thursday games, and then I think did we do a second podcast? I can't remember.
No, we did no, we didn't do two podcasts. Um
I know we did one specific. Oh, did we do one? Then we just made sure that we had Thanksgiving games in it. We just recorded early. Is
No,
that what we did?
you're overthinking this.
I'm overthinking everything these days.
We had on one Joe Murray on the podcast
Ah, yes.
of 98.5 The Sports Hub night show, and he will
Yep.
join us again next week. Joe Murray will
Oh,
return to the
let's go.
podcast.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
Love it.
Talked to him the other day. I said, "Hey, you want to do this again?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Let's go.
There you go. So we got that to look forward to next week. And I don't know if it's going to be Tuesday night or we record. We're recording right now on Wednesday afternoon, lunchtime hour. So we'll figure that out. But he's off all next week, so he'll make.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Always like
Let's love that.
big fan of Joe. Big fan of Joe, so he'll be on the show.
For what
Um,
it's worth, Tucker, is
yeah.
not that you should be talking about this live on the podcast, but I am off next Wednesday. I'm taking Wednesday off. So if you want to do
Oh,
it
you are.
Wednesday,
Okay.
we can
Yeah, I
figure
feel like
that
a lot.
out.
I
But
feel like a lot of people are taking off
yeah,
Wednesday. I am not, however, because radio is a horror sometimes, and stuff's got to get done.
listen, you we'll work around your schedule because I can make anything. My Tuesday's light too, so we'll make it work.
Yeah, I mean Tuesday night might be fun. Like I'd like to
Yeah,
get like the
let's
three
do
of
a
us
Tuesday
having
nighter.
cocktails on it. Yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
because we can just do this on Zoom now. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching Zoom on YouTube, I am still at work in the studio, and that's why
Oops.
if you're listening to the podcast, that's why I sound like the voice of God, and Matt sounds like he's talking in a tuna can this week.
That's bullshit. Sound great.
Your USB mic is actually not bad. It's not
I'll
bad.
take it. We'll take it.
Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti. Yeah.
That's the OG, man. That's the OG of USB mics. So, all right. Well,
I've had it quite a while.
enough bullshit here. Let's get to week 12. I'm sure everybody's saying that in their cars or wherever they're listening or watching us. Speaking of which, please subscribe on YouTube and leave us comments on YouTube. So we saw like a bunch of comments on YouTube last week. So that's great. Great
That was
job, guys.
nice. Got to answer a question thanks to your
Yeah.
text.
Yeah. Gus had a question for us, and it was a legit question. It was regarding
Was.
Matt pick of Indianapolis.
Hmm.
Uh, and because we were handicapping the game based on Joe Flacco being the starting quarterback, and I think it was like later that day or the next
Of
day
course. Always.
came out
Always.
that Anthony Richardson was the starter. So that in some circumstances like that, that's when you want to hit us up on socials or on YouTube, um, and ask that question. And I know that Spotify has its own comment section too. So yeah, definitely keep that going. And again, please subscribe on YouTube, especially massive for us. So
Yes.
please. All right, let's go ahead to week 12, Matthew. Let's start with our first likes here. And do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Pull up my sheet here. That would help. All right. First like for me is 1 o'clock slate. We're gonna take the Detroit Lions laying 7.5 at Indianapolis. And Tuck, I'm gonna take the dog here. I'm taking the Colts with the 7.5. Good hook here. Look, Detroit's the best team in the NFL. We know that. No, not even debatable, really, at this point. They just
Oh,
absolutely steamrolled the Jags, put up 52 for the
which I
second
called, by the
time.
way. Not really rocket science, but I said this was going to be a massive blowout,
You
and it was.
did. You did. By the way, I think NFL teams with double-digit spreads are now 5-0 on the year. So interesting little note there.
Really? Okay.
Um, every double-digit favorite has covered this year. A little
Did that
five
just
and
come
zero
out
for
over
you.
the air? I'm sorry.
What was that?
I just smashed my headphones against the microphone. My bad. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. Hey, we're used to that. Um, so yeah, they absolutely buried the Jags last week, but Jags dead team. Kind of know that they lose to teams like Detroit, Buffalo blew them out on Monday Night Football earlier this year. Um, so that's what you get with the Jags. So why am I on Indianapolis? So let's start out like this. We know the Aiden Hutchinson out for the year a couple weeks ago, right? Broken leg, what a
Yep.
gross game down in Detroit. But one big thing that happened on Sunday that in that Jags blowout, which was a little later in the game too, unfortunately for them, is their defense took another shot. Alex Anzalone, who is their defensive captain, green dot guy, middle linebacker, captain of that defense right now. Um, they're holding his arm into his shoulder like the disaster. Um, so not good there. He's going to be missing quite some time. But they're already missing Derek Barnes, another middle linebacker. So their depth at middle linebacker is gross right now, to say the best. And yes, they have DJ Reader up front. They have a really good line, but you can start to attack that middle of that Lions defense. And I think this plays really into the Colts' favor when you peel this game back a little bit. last week we saw Anthony Richardson come back into this offense and he looked awesome, right? And I'm not going to say that's the Anthony Richardson you're going to see every week, but like throwing the ball, running the ball,
Impressive.
that's the guy. That's the guy the Colts were hoping that they would have. Um, in this game, I've been saying on the show all year, I think the Colts offensive line is the best in football. So I'm going to play this, and that's where I think we get a little bit of an advantage from the Colts side. You can run the ball with Jonathan Taylor if you can get past that front line, which if you have the best offensive line in football, I think you can do. Then you really get the advantage at the second level, and that's huge with a guy like Taylor. And you can play off of Anthony Richardson as well in the read option there. So really like that side for the Colts to stay in this game. I'm not talking about winning this game outright or anything. Indy plays better at home as well. So keeping that in mind, they play these teams sneaky. Over the years, I mean, the Chiefs when they had the offense clicking and their defense clicking, I'll never forget this. So I think it was a year or two ago. They were laying 6. Colts almost won that game outright. In fact, had some referee help in that game. Just saying. But it was like a 3-point game. The Chiefs squeaked out. This is just a spot that I like the Colts here to cover. We saw Detroit go down to Houston, division rival who Indy's lost to twice, but very close games each time. Detroit had to come all the way back in that to win that game by a field goal. I think something similar in this game. I think Detroit probably wins the game anywhere from 3 to 6 points, maybe even 7. Get the hook in this one, like Indy getting getting the hook in this one. Keeping it
Indy's
simple on that side.
Indy's a different team at home too,
They
and
sure are. Yeah.
that's a lot of points to be a home dog.
Yep.
So I definitely lean in your direction, and I'm the biggest Lions better there is, as the podcast will show. Um, but yeah, I kind of lean in your direction here, and yeah, I think Anthony Richardson's going to be pumped up to play in front of the home crowd too. He's something to prove.
Yep.
He's benching a few weeks back, and big successful win in New York. So there you go. Yeah,
Yeah. For his confidence leading that team down against the Jets in the fourth quarter when they went down, when the Jets took that lead to go down the field and score. Like, I know it's the Jets, but like that says something about your quarterback. Like the fact that he was leading it down, throwing the ball. Yes, he ran the touchdown in at the end of the day, but great ending to that game and really a confidence builder for him and that team that they can win with this guy. So now Detroit's a completely different animal. We know that. We're not saying that they're the Jets, but like just from a confidence perspective, that's a huge game when you get the Lions on deck.
yeah, couldn't agree more with you. All right, my first like Matt. Give me it's very square. It's gonna be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -5.5 on the road in New York to take on the shitbag Jets. And
Giants, the other shitbag New York team.
yeah, the two shitbag teams in New York. The Giants, who big reason for me of doing this is don't understand what happened this past few days in terms of bypassing Drew Lock, who I think is a much more talented not much more, but a more talented quarterback than not only Daniel Jones, but Tommy DeVito. And they named Tommy DeVito their starting quarterback over Drew Lock. I think that's a joke. You saw reports today that I forget who it was from, but some I don't know who it was. It was on one of the talking head shows. Somebody with credibility, and I forget who the name was, so forgive me. But it's out there on Twitter where Brian Daboll is very much on the hot seat and is playing for his job. The 2-8 Giants. It's not really a surprise to say that, but Daboll, I think, is a good coach, and I think he's been dealt some bad luck with a dismal roster with the Giants, specifically in the offensive line and the quarterback position. So I think he's a good coach, and I think it's pretty noteworthy that he's on the hot seat, and I think that's going to resonate with the fans and the locker room too, even if they are coming off a bye. But this isn't just a Tommy DeVito pick, Matt. This is like the Bucks are coming off a bye. Falcons have lost 2 in a row. Bucks have lost 4 in a row, right? I think the Bucks are still a better team than what we saw, and they've really had to adapt quickly to the injury of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And all indications are now, again, we're recording on Wednesday around noon or 1 o'clock, excuse me. And it looks like we're going to get Mike Evans back here for this one, which is obviously massive for this offense. So I like them coming back refreshed. And I think they're going to try and take advantage and make a run at the Falcons, kind of retreating here and kind of coming back down to earth. It looked like for a while that Atlanta was going to run away with that division. But now they've lost two in a row, like I mentioned. But look at the Bucks schedule here. Giants this week, Panthers, and then the Raiders. Like they can win out here and still chase this division. It's not far fetched. They're only 4-6, and you can rip off three in a row there. You're right there for the division again. So give me the Bucks -5.5 here. I know that the Bucks have issues in their secondary. They have all year. I just think that they're going to pound the effective running game with Rashad White and Bucky Irving there, too. Pretty nice tandem there. Give me Bucks -5.5, Matt.
Players don't tank, organizations do. And that's why Tommy DeVito is starting over Drew Lock. Drew Lock got $5 million in the
You think the
offseason. If
tank
you could have,
job's in? Yeah.
yeah, if you could have thrown $5 million at this point to Saquon Barkley, and what happens? Saquon signs with you. So, like, at the end of the day, like, kind of a joke to not start Drew Lock. We know he's the best quarterback there. Um, yeah, Tommy DeVito, like this is why I don't believe the Dayball reports that he's coaching for a job. I've seen them out there. I agree, like that they are floating. Something tells me that this is an organization decision to play DeVito because they're scared that Locke might win him a game or two extra than they really want, and they need a quarterback, and they know that. Locke's a backup in this league. You don't really want him starting games, but you certainly don't want Tommy DeVito starting games. And at the end of the day, they just need a QB. They need a reset at that position. And the best way to do that is to lose games. So Tommy DeVito in there. Another point here for me, quick look ahead. Are we excited for that Thanksgiving game of Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito or what? Because
Uh,
that is filthy
that's a
disgusting.
12:30 game.
No, it's the four.
Okay. Hmm.
Terrible.
By the way, real quick, it was Fox Sports Jordan Schultz, who's an up and coming
Yeah.
insider here, really, really doing a good job the past few years,
Mhm.
rocketing up the journalists rankings, if you will, in terms of the NFL. He reported that Brian Daboll is more likely to get fired on Wednesday's Breakfast Ball, whatever that show is.
Don't
Uh,
even know what that is.
and he
FS1
also
probably.
reported that Mike Evans is expected to play on
Yeah.
Sunday. So
Yeah, he's been practicing. So I lean your side. I actually don't have any. I don't even have a lean. I'll root you home. This game. There's a couple games in this slate that I'm like, just get away from me. This is
yeah,
one of them.
yeah. All right, your second like Matt.
All right, buddy. I gotta jump to the 4:30 slate here, 4:25 Eastern, and I'm going to Lambeau Field where my San Francisco 49ers are headed to
Are you out?
Green Bay. What's that?
You out on them?
You'll hear. Um,
And for the season.
Part of this.
Okay.
This is the
All right.
season for the 49ers. It's a team that's 5-5, and you're looking at two teams that feel like they're going in two opposite directions. So, as a fan here, I hope I'm wrong. I'm laying it with the Packers -2.5. I've already bet it -1.5. It went to 2.5 because of Brock Purdy and the news that he has a sore throwing shoulder. Purdy's a tough guy, so if you're hearing that, that scares me a little bit here. Um, he's going to play in this game. I'm not worried about that. I think you'll probably get a better number than 2.5 at the end of the day once he comes back in, but I don't think it really matters. First off, the injuries are just added up for the Niners. Obviously, this year they've played without Hufanga and Greenlaw on defense, but last week they lost Nick Bosa in the third quarter. They were winning that game 13-10. Seattle had 87 yards of total offense when he went out of that game, and when he went out, they were an entirely different defense. Couldn't get pressure, opened up everything. Seattle got two touchdowns after that, including the game-winning drive at the end of the game. So he's as big. Obviously, we know Nick Bosa is a star. He's been playing unbelievable football for them. The amount of pressures, the amount of the game wrecking. They were triple teaming him on Sunday, and he was still making tackles. Like he's just an animal. I don't think he's playing Sunday. I can tell you that. He came into that game with a hip injury, played through that, and then something with his abdomen on the other side. I just think I'd be shocked if he plays not only this week, but I'm kind of hoping he'd be back for Buffalo the week after. Like it's I don't know if he's even going to see the field. I'd be stunned if he plays Sunday. So that's a big part of this for me. The defense just they're banged up. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's just as concerning is with Debo Samuel. He's a step slower, Tucker. You know, I watch this team
Uh,
obviously week in, week out. Like he is,
I think
he's
that's why
not.
there are so many rumors in the offseason of
Yeah,
dealing with Debo. Like,
dealing with it right. It's the reason they signed Ayuk to the deal they
I
did because they
think
were going to
that,
let one of them go,
yeah,
and they wanted to have one last run at it, so they kept Debo for this year. That's why I said to you off the show. I don't think I said it on, but I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Debo at the trade deadline. Like I think that he's a guy that like yes, he's been the heart and soul of the team, but something's up with him. I think the something up is just his
smacking
style
two
of play. It's
hundred.
something that we've seen like for years with him. He just tries to run through you instead of going out of bounds. He's a physical guy, and I think his body's just taking a toll. He's been banged up over the years. Um, so he's almost like a running back in that way, Tuck, where like the body's going to break down quicker than a wide receiver. And I think you're kind of starting to see the start of him. I'm not saying he's toast or all done, but like he's a step slower and they're not getting separation from their receivers. And then you have Juwan Jennings, who's been their best player
Yeah,
week in and week out. The guy's an absolute beast. But he makes tough contested catches. Every throw for Purdy was in a tight window. Um, and then they had Kittle that was out last week and hurt himself. What's he going to be like in this game? He's
gonna
going to
play.
play. He's going to play, but like, are you at 100%? Like, that was weird. He was healthy, and then all of a sudden at the end of the week, his pops up on the injury report, and then all of a sudden just doesn't play. Um, whole thing seemed weird. Uh, so now on the flip side, you have the Packers. They come off a big win, blocked field goal win, division game. I was laying 6 emotionally. I wanted them to blow the Bears out. Didn't happen.
Uh,
Um, and but they still won that game. And that's the Packers
love it.
do.
Sorry.
What was that?
Sorry, I just had a brain fart. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you're good. I didn't even hear it. Um, so they come off that win. Now they get to go home to Lambeau in a game that they get a chance to put a knife in the back of the San Francisco 49ers, a team that's eliminated them from the playoffs every time they've played them since Aaron Rodgers has been their quarterback. They have, you know, a team that specifically has a playoff rematch game spot here, team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year when they started to get hot. And I think from the Green Bay offense hasn't looked 100% right in the passing game, but I think this is a game where those 4 wide receivers for Green Bay, where it's kind of like can't really take one out. And the way that they're starting to use Josh Jacobs, they said they get him involved, and they have started to get him involved more and
Christian
more, and he's
Watson
looked
too,
better
man.
and better. What was that?
Christian Watson too.
Yeah, Watson is another guy. So, the way they're starting to get those weapons involved, important for this Packers team. Now, finally, one last point that I'll make here. This coaching staff knows each other. And Shanahan's had LaFleur's number for the most part. LaFleur comes from the Shanahan coaching tree, so very similar. One key thing that's not being discussed at all, at least I haven't heard it at all anywhere, is that after the Jets fired Robert Saleh, the Packers hired him as a consultant. And I think a big reason they did that was for not just this game, but a way to beat the Niners when it matters. And I think this having Saleh in that room and on that sideline essentially, that's a big deal for the Packers. I think just like a way to kind of how do we go about it? What have we missed in the past years against this team? What gets them over the edge? In a game that's just a coin flip for the most part, I think that gives Green Bay a slight edge on that one. So, like I said, I think the Green Bay puts a knife in the 49ers season on Sunday. Their schedule upcoming, they still have games against the Bills. They have games against the Lions. Like it doesn't get much easier for the Niners, and they just don't look right. And I think it's those
Yeah,
years of being back to back to back NFC Championship games and Super Bowls, and
yeah.
you know, at
It's
the end of the day, I think it's starting to feel like a lost season to me. So
yeah.
give me the
It's
Packers minus 2.5 here.
Super Bowl hangover, Matt. I think that's what it is, paired with just another aging roster in terms of the weapons. And you mentioned Debo. I think there's a decent chance that the 49ers finish last in the division this year.
I will disagree because I think the team that's in first place is going to finish in last place. But
You think that the Cardinals are going to finish in last place? Oh, I
yeah,
don't agree with that at all.
I
I'm
know I can see that.
ready to rip.
Um, uh, personally, that's how I feel. But We'll see. I don't think the Niners are going to be a playoff team. If you're asking me that, I don't,
Yeah, I don't
they're in
think they are
trouble.
either, unfortunately. And I've been rooting as for the 49ers as my second team. You know, mostly because of you, but I like how they built their offense. It's just been elite, and their team really, as we all know. But I think times are going to be changing over the next couple of years with the Niners here, unfortunately. Maybe they can make another big run next year, and if they deal away Debo and get some cap relief, and maybe shore up the defense a little bit more. But yeah, you got to utilize this window of Christian McCaffrey soon.
They
Soon.
had to utilize the window of Brock Purdy as cheap as he was.
That too. That
That's
too.
what they
Like
should have done.
he's going to demand a contract in the off season's my guess, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they got to pay him.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. All right. So there you go. You're for your second like there. My second like is going against my team, Matt. So
Oh, look at
that's
that.
you can see there. We're fading our teams that we root for. Give me the Dolphins -7 for this one. Listen, this is a much different Dolphins team than what the Patriots played against back in October, who they lost to 15-10. With that was a whole Jalen Polk toe tap, didn't get your foot down in the end zone there, and the Jacoby Brissett uh, storm back there and late in the game. Dolphins still won. Dolphins showed something last week in terms of just stomping on a bad team, and I think that's going to continue this week when they stomped on the Raiders last week. They got it going. They see their window of opportunity here to finally make a big run and make up lost ground for what we've seen so far this year. You know, obviously they're 4-6, but now they've won two in a row. Two is back. The offense is starting to look like they're piecing it together. Jonnu Smith is becoming a major weapon for that offense. He's making up for what is lacking, which Waddle. I think Waddle's pretty banged up, clearly, with what's going on. But Devon Achane is just a beast right now. He's going to go bananas versus this Patriots front. I know they got back Christian Barmore, but still they're easing him back in. And they should run wild on this Patriots team. You're seeing more consistency out of an older Tyreek Hill now. I understand that the Patriots getting Cole Strange back at practice this week. A nice addition, I guess, to that Patriots offensive line, but we still don't know what first round pick Cole Strange is. And at the end of the day, even if he does play in this game, it's just another rotation of the Patriots offensive line, which can't help. It can't help in terms of it's just every game you get a different offensive rotation in terms of that offensive line. It's just frustrating. They should have won last week. The coaching it was a choke job. I mentioned that earlier. They should have beat the Rams. Drake May had his best game of the year. The offense finally looked functional, and it was frustrating. They still couldn't even cover versus the Rams, let alone beat them. And that was on their home turf. So they're going to go to Miami. I think that the Dolphins are going to win by 10. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but 7, I am comfortable with. Give me the Dolphins 7, 7.5, what have you. Second like for me.
All right, man. They own them down in Miami. They've owned them down there for years.
Yeah, that's
Even
the
back
area.
to Brady. So like, I can't disagree. I will say that when it was 7.5 earlier, I was looking at the Pats, but 7, no
I'm
play.
telling you, man, if they had a capable coach, I'd probably be taking the Pats to cover this one.
Yeah, I get that. That's
He doesn't get it. He's a rookie. He's still got too much learning, too much of a
yeah,
learning curve to overcome. And I'm talking about Gerard Mayo, not the quarterback.
yeah. Well, they both do. I think like May's been good. He's definitely promising. You got a guy to build around. That's for
But
sure. So that's the exciting part.
he's getting better every week. Drake May
Mhm.
is. Mayo isn't.
A good test here because I think the Dolphins defense has really stepped up in the last couple of weeks. They're getting healthier. This is a nice test actually to see where
But
he's at and how he plays against this Dolphins D.
but I mean, look at the Dolphins need this one, man. If they lose this, their
Oh
season's
yeah,
done. Their season's
yeah.
done.
There's no margin for error for
Yeah.
them.
They got the Packers on Thanksgiving Eve, on the road in Lambeau. Tough spot, obviously. You get 2 games versus the Jets, so fucking wins. Texans on the road, tough. Home versus the Niners, still a challenge. and then you got to go to Cleveland. I think that should be a win, but you know, you got 2 to 3 tough matchups on deck here for the Dolphins, so they got to take care of business versus the Pats.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be a field goal game. It should be a touchdown comfortably.
Yep.
All right, Matt, your third like, please.
Sunday night football, Eagles at the Rams, and the Eagles are laying 2.5 in SoFi. Both Sunday night and Monday night games at SoFi this week. Interesting.
Oh,
I am
didn't even dawn
on.
on me.
Yeah, look at that. Um, Eagles -2.5. Give me them. They're playing the best football of the season, and the Rams. They're just not. They're starting to concern me. The Rams. I've been on the Rams the last few weeks, but 2 weeks ago they got beaten prime time by the Dolphins. They looked horrendous. The Dolphins tried to give them that game, and they still. 5 field goals, no touchdowns. Then last week, very inconsistent, I thought, against New England. As someone who's watching that game a little closer than I normally would be, because I did end up betting it. I did not like I think that was more about the way Gerard Mayo and the Pats played than it was about or coached in
Absolutely.
that case. Like we talked about that.
Yep.
You made it pretty easy for a guy like McVay to go down and score points, but still, New England had the ball with a chance to go down and win that game. Like at the end of the day, like that's concerning for that Rams team. So I don't know. When I look at it like that, I don't like the way they're really playing, and they've just been inconsistent on that one. The Rams' offensive line, they're finally healthier, but they're still giving up a ton of pressures. And I think that's a huge mismatch in this game. The Eagles' D line right now is playing as well as they have under Vic Fangio, their new defensive coordinator, who really has that defense gelling together. And what have we seen with Matthew Stafford against teams that get at him, pressure him? He starts getting rid of the ball fast, terrible throws, inaccurate. He's played terribly against pressure. When he's got time, settle in. That's when he delivers. New England didn't get to him last week. A couple of pressures in that game though. When they got to him, 3 and outs. When he was getting his time, settled in nicely, getting the ball out there to Puka and Cooper Cobb, right? So like that's what they want to do. Now, um, on the Eagles side, they have two young cornerbacks, Tuck, who are playing awesome right now. We saw this on Thursday night. They're really coming together defensively, and I think the key of those two young corners. On Thursday night, they shut down that Commanders offense. Jaden Daniels and that team all year long. All we've seen are big plays out of the Commanders. They had zero on Thursday night, zero.
Right.
Um,
So
so, okay.
let me just give out my third like because it is on this game. I'm
Mhm.
taking the under in
Oh,
this game, and the reason for me for jumping in is the corners on Philly have finally figured it out against opposing wideouts. If you go back to like right before their bye, they were getting
mhm.
torched in their secondary. After the bye week, okay, so before the bye week, and this is again 4 weeks, they allowed 7 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. Week 6, so at post bye, week 6 through 11, they've allowed 1 touchdown. Think about that. That's huge.
Yeah, huge.
And they've allowed during that same span, they've allowed 100 plus yards once in that same span to opposing wide receivers. Whereas in the previous 4 games before the bye, it was 100 plus every game and 200 plus twice to opposing wideouts. So the corners in the secondary for Philly is really, really figured something out. And I think they're going to zone in on Puka and Cooper. And they're not going to make the same mistakes that the Patriots did last week in terms of that coverage. So I lean the under in this, or I like the under in this one. 49.5, I'm seeing. I think it opened at 50.5. So you're seeing it's trending down that way. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a grind the run sort of game. And I'm trusting the Philly secondary. Phillies, Jesus Christ. The Philadelphia secondary here in this one.
And your timing was perfect because now as you wrap in there with the coin, it's almost like we planned that and we didn't. You talked about a little bit of the offense being a little run the ball heavy. Well, offensively, Jalen Hurts has not looked good. Did not play good at all against the Commanders on Thursday night. But the Rams defense is still allowing way too many yards, Tuck. 22nd in the league against the pass right now. And the strength of the Eagles, we know this. This is their run game. Saquon Barkley's been lights out for them. What a key matchup he gets here. The Eagles, number one team running the ball in the NFL at 181 yards a game, and the Rams are 18th in the league against the run. So I think you're going to see a lot of Saquon, even Hurts using his legs in this game to keep that clock moving. I think that plays to your under. I also just want to mention that we have the Philly offense totally over total or in total is fifth overall in total yards per game, while the Rams are 23rd in the league yards allowed. I like that. I think they're just going to keep pounding the ball at them. That will open up the pass game. And even if you want to flip that, and the Rams stats are a little bit skewed from their offense with Puka being out, Cooper Kupp being out. Um, they're still going up against the second best pass defense yards per game in Philadelphia, seventh best rush defense in yards per game, and that totals to be the number one defense in total yards per game. So Philadelphia's really figured it out defensively. So even though you have your weapons back, the fact that they're going to pressure you, the fact that they're going to there's not consistency from the Rams right now, and you're getting more consistency out of that Philly offense. I think the Rams are in for a long night. So you can give me the Eagles here -2.5.
Yeah, there you go. And this opened at 3, right?
This one did open at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I lean in your direction as well, Matt. So yeah, 2 likes in the same game. Philadelphia -2.5, and I'm on the under in that one, 49.5. All right, my fourth and final like here. I think I know your answer to this. But give me the Arizona Cardinals on the road in Seattle +1 as road dogs here. Arizona's coming off a bye, whereas Seattle is coming off what I think is their highest emotion game this year, beating the 49ers in San Francisco and the fashion they won. That's a big high to come off of. It really is. Cardinals are now the favorites to win the NFC West per FanDuel at -105. And by the way, 49ers are -210 to not make the playoffs. Matt, just a little bit there.
I won't be dabbling.
Yeah, so it's more of just like I think they're gonna split in terms of their season series. For they face each other first week in December here, so they have one game separating these games here, and I just think they're gonna finish the season 1-1. And Seattle beat them twice last year. But I think this Arizona team is much different. I think you're going to see Marvin Harrison get going in a big way coming off the bye week. They figure out his inconsistencies. James Conner's been a beast all year, and so is Trey McBride. And it seems like it's somewhat of a respectable Arizona defense here. So this is really just a play off of Seattle coming off a major win, and I think they kind of come back down to earth a little bit. I'm still not a huge believer in the Seahawks team overall. So I like the direction the Cardinals are heading. So give me them +1 on the road in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm a no play. At first I thought I was going to be on Arizona, and then I kind of looked into the game, and similar to your point, like Arizona off a bye, Seattle coming off that huge win. This is a spot that I would always like to play Arizona more so than Seattle. Um, my fear for Arizona was they were playing well and hitting their peak going into the bye. That shows a team that doesn't want to buy at that time. You've won 4 in a
Played the
row, and those
Yeah,
teams,
they played
yeah,
the
but
Chiefs.
no, but I mean, they won 4 in a row though. Like going into the bye, you're hot. That's kind of like when you want to keep things going, not like have that week off. So he's seen
Fair.
teams come out a little bit sluggish out of the bye in that situation when the bye doesn't hit at the right time. That's all. So it's just something to be
I
that kept me off this. Seattle and Arizona play twice in 3 weeks. So I also think they split. I kind of starting to lean though, even though the spot screams Arizona, um, there was something that's holding me off in addition to what I already said, and that's the way Seattle played defense on Sunday. That team coming off their bye looked a lot better on defense, and it looked like their defensive coach or their coach, who they hired from the Ravens, their defensive coordinator, what they finally got that scheme going. You feel that felt like the way the Ravens played. Is I was locked in obviously to that game. And a lot of similarities to how the Ravens used to play defense. And I think in Mike McDonald, and that's what he wants to do. That's the style he wants to play. Now, does he have the players to do that week in and week out? I'm not sure. But um, the scheme's starting to get into play with them. And I think the changes they made over the bye week really, really were impressive. And it's something to just watch. Seattle's also won the last 5 games against Arizona straight up. So
in
just
5.
going to be interesting. That was with Pete Carroll. So different team, differently coached team anyway, but the players remain pretty much the same in this game. from the Seattle side. So I don't hate your pick. I just don't know if I want to play it. I was for certain on Sunday night when I was looking at the openers that Arizona would be one of my five. Um, but I didn't bet it at that point. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the window on this one. I kind of like the over, but again, the way Seattle played defense last week's keeping me off that. So no play for me here.
All right. And your final like, Matt. And okay.
SoFi, yeah,
So this was one of my original likes, and I took it off. I'll say
okay,
that. I'm on
okay.
the bandwagon. Let's put it that way.
Let's go. SoFi Stadium, Monday Night Football, Ravens, Chargers. Give me the Chargers +3. Talking to ask you a quick question. Who's been the better football team this year?
Chargers.
Everyone would say the Ravens, I feel like, but I don't think so. When you actually peel the onion back and you actually say team, I think you have to say the Chargers, right? Like the Chargers offense for a while was like looked like they were stuck in the mud, but I think a lot of that was their young wide receiver corps. Herbert getting used to his new offensive weapons, and then Quentin
Her-
Johnson missed a few games. Lad McConkey took a few
Herbert
weeks
look
to come on.
Herbert looks like a different guy.
He looks like the guy that everyone has talked about for
He
years,
looks
and
like the
like,
guy that I've been betting MVP odds for the past 2
yes,
years. And then
exactly.
I
Like
did the
this is the guy we've been waiting for. And when you get that guy against this defense, this pass defense specifically, that's going to spell problems. I think the key in this whole game is how does Lamar Jackson play against the Chargers? Because at the end of the day, this is a defense that is play two defenses that I don't know, like the Chargers defense overall is much better than the Ravens, right? The Ravens are a better run defense specifically, but the Chargers can stop the pass, they can stop the run. Um, you can also get them though. They're kind of middle. They're like a middle of the pack defense, the way I'd put it. And I think the big part of this comes down to how does Lamar play in this game? Because I think the Chargers at any point are going to be able to throw and get points on the board. So that's where I'm playing this. I think this game's a field goal game either way. So give me the +3 here with the Chargers and the Harbaugh Bowl. Keep in mind, I told you last week, John Harbaugh 42% is a favorite. Yep, lost again. Lamar 37 as a favorite of three or more. Yep, lost again. So, this is just a trend that I'm going to keep playing here. If you're giving me a field goal against the Ravens, especially when they're on the road against a team that I think is actually better, and I think everyone wants to just talk about how good Baltimore is.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Baltimore's offense, yeah, when they're clicking, they're one of the best in football, no question. But I think the Chargers are you know, I, they have the quarterback. Let's just say that he's playing as well as he's ever played. We're finally seeing the consistency out of him. What you saw last week was impressive. I will say he is like, for whatever reason, one of the worst second half covering quarterbacks out there. Like you can get extremely good value on games where Justin Herbert's second half fading him. But even in this case, Baltimore's pass defense in the second half of these games has been even worse. So it's really just a tough spot. And it's not that I want to fade Baltimore again. I certainly didn't. In fact, here's another game I looked at Sunday night and I'm like, I'm probably gonna be on the Ravens here. Like coming off that loss against Pittsburgh. They kind of need this game. But I, if you're giving me consistent, I know it sounds crazy because we're talking about the Chargers, but what Harbaugh has done, Jim Harbaugh has done with them, is impressive. He's got them playing consistent football. They don't make mistakes, and at the end of the day, they just win games. So I think this game is probably a field goal game. I think the Chargers can win it. I think the Ravens can win it. But if you're getting three, then you gotta. I'm taking the dog. I think the value here is on the dog. So get the
Now,
three if you're taking the Chargers.
I do think that this is a public play. It seems like everybody's on the Chargers bandwagon now. They seems like they're for real. And you got the whole Harbaugh element here and the comeback story with Jim. Um, maybe I'm wrong in that. It just seems like the public's heavy on the Chargers being a dog at home. Um, do you
83% of the tickets and 87% of the money on the Ravens right now.
really? That shocks me. That
And
shocks me.
and I do think the team I do disagree even before you looking at that. I disagree because when I look at this, I think oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. On the over 83% and 87. 86% of the tickets on the Chargers, 90% on the money on the Chargers.
Okay,
That
so
is
I was
correct.
right.
Yeah, you were right
Right.
on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think though that most people are going to look at this. Well, I also don't think the public's betting much between Monday and Wednesday, just personally. I think you'll see public come into play on like late Friday, Saturday, start to tease and parlay with college
But
football and then
even
into
so,
Sundays. But like, yeah, I mean, there are public people that play on Sunday, like early week. But um, I think the reality is, Tuck, that like this team, like from just watching football, people like Lamar. They're going to want to bet Lamar. But the Chargers are catching them because you have Jim Harbaugh, you have Herbert, who everyone likes. These are two teams that publicly genuinely likes to back over the years. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it is a public play. I don't know. I'm okay with it either way though, because I think the
I
Chargers at least are getting three. Then I'm okay with it.
let me throw this at you, Matt. We don't talk about fantasy often here, but just to tell you like what position I'm coming from,
Hmm.
I have Jalen Hurts as my starting quarterback in a different league, not your league.
Hmm.
Um, Justin Herbert's on my bench.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to start Hurts, but I'm thinking long and hard about starting Herbert because that Ravens secondary is awful.
Awful. You got to play Hurts because he scores every game from the
That's the
one
only
yard
reason.
line. He
That's the only
runs the ball in. If he wasn't
right.
like,
The
he's
push.
taken about 10 touchdowns away from Saquon.
But like Herbert's dealing, man. He's absolutely dealing.
He's dealing. Like, I mean, you're in a good situation. I'll say that. Like,
Yeah.
they're clicking. The Chargers are finally clicking on offense.
So that was my near double for this week, and it's
All right.
probably gonna hit because I took it off my sheet.
I can see Baltimore winning this game in a last second field goal by Justin Tucker. And it's like, oh, okay, everyone's shit all over Tucker. Like he missed two field goals last week, and then he comes in, he hits the game. You can just feel that in
It
a
just
close
feels
game.
it just feels
One,
like the Ravens is very sharp.
mm, I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think the Ravens are probably gonna win this game by like a point or two. I
Oh, keep
do.
in mind, obviously this is the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of friggin' cuteness in this game, and what I mean by that is like if there was a prop, I'm like betting multiple 2-point conversion attempts, like I'm hammering the over. You're gonna see a lot of 2-point conversion attempts just because it's the Harbaughs, man. It's the Harbaughs. We all know the history of John with his 2-point uh failures, but I think you're gonna see a lot of cuteness out of these guys because they're
Maybe.
adorable.
Maybe. One other thing that I didn't mention is looking at my notes here. Kyle Hamilton's banged up. Like he tried to
Yeah.
play in that Pittsburgh game and like went down in the third quarter again. Like he's clearly not 100%. If that guy ends up not being out, that or not being out there, that is for a secondary that blows with him. Like that's important. So just
Oh,
another
and
thing to keep an eye on.
J.K. Dobbins faces his old team in the
Yeah,
race.
a little revenge game, JK. I don't know what you're gonna see out of him though.
All right, let's jump to the rest here. Thursday night football. We have the Steelers on the road in Cleveland. Cleveland 3.5 home dogs for this one. Total on this one is a gross 36.5, and I would still lean the under on that one.
Yeah, there's gonna be some weather in this game, and lean Cleveland, as gross as that is, Cleveland's like almost unbettable. They're getting to that point, but Pittsburgh off that huge win Sunday.
These games always
Um,
go under, I feel like. Pittsburgh and
yeah,
Cleveland, it's just, ugh.
I feel like Pittsburgh wins a close game here, but getting the hook. This game, yeah, I saw it as high as 4.5 the other day, and I wish I had that. But no play right now for me. Lean Cleveland
Yeah.
under. This is a weird spot coming off a short week off that Ravens win. Ravens Philly next week, by the way. Just forgot to mention that.
Yep.
Something to look forward to. That's gonna be a good game.
Titans on the road in Houston to take on division rival Texans. Texans favored by 8.5. Point total on this one is 41.5. Am I crazy for leaning the Titans, Matt?
Yes, Titans 1-9 against the spread, 1-10 against the spread, whatever they are. They're a terrible team. I am going to bet Houston. I'm hoping I get a better number, but it's going in the wrong direction. It had it 7.5. It's gone up to 8.5. I was hoping it would go the other way. I don't want any part of this Tennessee team. Their quarterback is a train wreck,
I
and the Texans are. I mean, they needed that game on Monday night. They did what they needed to do against Dallas and that
um,
shitbag team. I think they do the same
um
thing with Tennessee here.
I was 6 yards off from a same game parlay.
Oof.
With Nico Collins, and
Uh,
I say
don't
that
say
because
it.
what was the
The
very first
first play of the
call?
game.
Illegal man downfield, and he was off by like 6 inches. And it was a penalty, like I'll say that, but it's like Nico Collins off to the races, and it was 60 yards. All I
Yeah,
needed was 60 yards, and he finished with 56 or
that
54.
that's
Um,
that's
and I
brutal.
had Mixon anytime and Mixon plus 80 yards.
I had
So
a
that
Nico
was great.
anytime touchdown, and that didn't happen, so I wasn't happy about that either.
Um, Cowboys at Commanders. Commanders favored by 10.5 coming off of a bye week. Point total on this one is 44.5. I think that's a lot of points for a banged up Jaden Daniels. And I was very close to taking the points with the Cowboys, actually.
I don't know
I
here.
just can't
I
support
It's a
the
lot
Dallas.
of points. It's a lot of points, but I will say they are Jane Daniels back to full practice this week. I think that's a big thing for him. He hasn't done that in a few weeks and means he's healthy. They have a mini bye. Dallas short week looks like shit. And let me ask you, I tweeted this the other night, but for the podcast here, like what if you're Dallas? You traded a fourth round pick for Trey Lance. What are you doing?
I don't
Put
get
the
it.
guy on the field and see what you got. Just
I
see
don't
what
get
you
like
have.
you know what
Like it
you have
makes
with
no
Cooper.
sense.
You know what you have with Cooper Rush. And by the
Yeah,
way, what's a more exciting game? Trey Lance versus Jaden Daniels
yes.
or Cooper Rush? Like, come on.
Like I get that Lance is raw, has not looked great, but like he needs to play in order. Like he didn't play that many games in
He's
college.
24 years old.
Let the kid play. Let him make his mistakes. That the same mistakes that Cooper Rush is going to inevitably make, and see what you got. You traded a fourth round pick for him. They are so stupid. God, they are dumb. I hope Washington wins this game by 30 just because of it. I'll also say this when I look at this line, I specifically remember last Thanksgiving when I think I was on Washington plus 11. That got steamed to 14. I bet it again. I think Dallas covered that. But, like, I understand that Dak Prescott's not playing and Jaden Daniels is. Have these two teams really swapped 21 points or whatever? Like, that's the move from last Thanksgiving. That's crazy. That feels like too many points. So I don't know. Still lean Washington though.
Jerry Jones was doing his interview and he was asked about the possibility of Lance starting week 12. Jones said, I don't know about that. I want to give our team the very best chance it can in all phases to be successful. So we're going to go here with the quarterback that gives us the best chance to win the game.
But let me ask you this. If a reporter's asking Bob Kraft that question, don't you have concerns? Like why are they asking Jerry Jones that question? Hey Mike McCarthy, you're about to get fired. Your career as a head coach is on the line. You should be doing whatever it takes as the head coach of the football team to put yourself maybe not the best chance to win, but at least give the freaking organization a chance to see what they got and they gave up. I don't know. I'd play Lance personally. I don't get it.
And you might see him this game in the second half if it gets
But they
ugly.
said they got some packages for him, so we'll see him finally. But
They should. And then
packages.
the final of the rest here, Broncos at Raiders. Raiders 5.5 home dogs in this one. Point total is 41.5. And correct me if I'm wrong, but these teams have played each other pretty close last year, right?
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, staying away.
I was gonna Vegas, another team I was sure was gonna be on my list, and then you look into it and you just feel like, I don't know, has this team quit,
It's
Tuck?
like a weird divisional game.
Have they quit though? Like the end of that
Yeah,
Miami game, they got hot, faded in the fourth quarter, and when I say they got hot, I mean like fatigued, like the heat was getting to them. But like I don't know, their coach, that's another bozo coach, Antonio Pierce. Like forget it.
he's
I don't
out.
trust him.
He might be out.
Wanted to take Vegas, but I don't know where their minds at right now. There's
Yeah.
another team resetting. Get a
Yep.
quarterback.
Exactly. All right, so that's it for the rest here on a shortened slate here. So let's go to the best, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. I am seeing, I know we talked about this before we came on, Matt, but I am seeing 10.5. I am seeing
Yeah.
10.
Are you? You're back. We're back to that.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
So I'm
Oh yeah. Well, DraftKings. Yeah. Little juice to it.
give me the Chiefs minus 10.5 here. And one minor factor. on this play for me is my Lions pick last week. I spoke very confidently about that game and how they were going to blow out the Jaguars. Why didn't I just make that my best bet? Like I
I don't know.
was so confident they were going to cover that number. So confident.
Hmm.
And then just like, yeah, give me the Browns. Like, what the fuck's the matter with me? I don't get it. Why do I do this, Matt?
You overthink it. You
I
overthink
just,
it.
I apparently. So I'm not going to let that happen to me again this week. I'm going back to the Chiefs for my best bet here. Listen, the undefeated shit is out of the way for the Chiefs. It's out of their way. It's off their shoulder. They don't have to worry about it anymore. So this game versus the shitback Panthers, I don't care if they're coming off a bye. This is a reset and take care of business spot for the Chiefs. Chiefs defense, they need to step up. They've allowed 20 plus points in 3 of their last 4 games. They need to turn their shit around before the playoffs here, get their shit together. And what better team than the Carolina Panthers, who I know they're getting Jonathan Brooks into the mix there out of the backfield, rookie running back, but I don't know how much you're going to see Jonathan Brooks and how effective he's going to be. And we all know that Bryce Young is just going to make mistake after mistake. And I think that Spags in this Chiefs defense is going to take advantage and maybe take one of the house this week. Um, Chiefs are also getting back Isaiah Pacheco, most likely. It's going to be a major factor in that backfield, seeing that Kareem Hunt is clearly running out of steam. So Pacheco comes in at a much needed time. The Panthers, they allowed the second most rushing yards per game and second most rushing touchdowns per game. That Carolina Panthers defense has. I think I'm reading that right. Additionally, Carolina allows the most points to opponents while scoring the fourth fewest. Kansas City's pretty much the opposite with above average scoring and allowing the 8th fewest points per game. So give me the Chiefs here. And let me just take you through the point differentials for the Panthers in their losses this year, Matt. Point differentials 37, 23, 10, 26, 18, 33, and 14. The last 2 games for the Panthers were wins, but look at who they beat. They beat the Saints in their final game with head coach Dennis Allen, dead man walking. And then Daniel Jones is his last game of the Giants starting quarterback. So I'm not going to buy the Panthers coming off a bye being rejuvenated to take on this Kansas City team. It's a complete get your shit together spot for both the Chiefs defense and the offense. I liked what I saw out of Xavier Worthy last week. Nice uptick there in terms of usage and creativity. Juju Smith-Schuster finally back and seemingly healthy. I think they're going to run the table here, and this is a route for the Chiefs. Minus 10.5 for me, best bet.
Right. All right. Panthers money line.
You're not
No.
a bastard.
They are hot though. No, I don't want any. I do actually. I make the game 10, so no play for me. But I could totally see Kansas City Carolina's like, oh God, they just lost last Sunday. Here we go. Gotta get back on track. Want
Yeah,
to get
but I
right
think
spot.
I think that that's going to piss them off. It's going to piss them off,
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, if you're Carolina, you're like, Christ.
and I know that the Chiefs have seen criticism in terms of like, oh, they can't separate in terms of their offense and they can't cover these big spreads. I think they do. I think they do this week. Panthers are a really bad team.
Not good.
And I would feel differently. I don't think I would play this if they won last week, by the way. As weird as that sounds, I don't think I play that.
Yeah, it's pretty much on my number at this point. So nothing for me. No play, nothing.
Nothing
I
for you.
I
Best
get
bet for
it. I
me.
get why you're on the Chiefs, but I'll root you home there.
All right.
Maybe. I hate the Chiefs, but if it's close, I will not root you home.
I'm
If it's not
getting
close, then
I'm
I'll root
getting
you home.
same vibes as the Lions last week. And I'm
Yeah,
not
but I
gonna
mean,
pass it up. I'm not gonna pass it up.
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, Matt.
All right.
Uh,
Best bet time for me. Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. I've been saying on the show for 3 weeks
you have,
that
and this
I'm
is one of my
betting the Chicago Bears in this spot. And that was before I gave out the Bears my best bet against the Patriots. And ate my lunch. And it was before I gave out the Green Bay Packers last week against the Bears and ate my lunch. But this is the spot for the Chicago Bears. Third straight road game for the Minnesota Vikings. Third straight home game for Chicago. That is such an advantage. And Minnesota has benefited by playing the Jags and the Titans on the road in the first two. But this is a step up in class, no matter how you look at it. Chicago is much better team, even though they've been playing some shitty football. Though I like what I saw last week against the Packers in defeat, should have won. If they were playing anybody except the Green Bay Packers, I'm 99.9% sure they line up for that field goal and it goes in. Like that's just the way it goes for the Bears against the Packers these days. It's like one of those things. So all of that said. Um, I just told you that the Titans and the Jags were the last two teams in Minnesota's played. Well, 12 points against the Jags, totally gross offensive performance. The Minnesota's just been terrible on offense the last few games, and like it looks like on paper, 23 points last week against the Titans, not so bad. Except we dig in the field position and where they were starting some of those drives that they scored on. Like that is a big thing for Minnesota. Their defense is carrying them. They right now over the last few weeks have become a one-dimensional football team, and that's the defense. Um,
Sam
Brian,
Darnold back down to earth.
exactly where I'm going right now. 5 interceptions, 2 fumbles over the last 3 games for Darnold, so 7 turnovers in 3 games, and that's the wrong direction, right? As the Vikings are still winning these games, but against a team like Chicago, this is night and day best defense that they've faced over this stretch. And I don't like the way Sam Darnold's playing. So I think the trend continues. Now, we talked about this last week. You asked me if it was a concern. I said no. I should have said yes. The Bears team did look different offensively last week, and they slowed the game down for Caleb Williams. Are they going to do the same thing? Are they going to look great against Brian Flores? Probably not. I'm not saying I think the Bears offense is going to be a big hit here. I don't think that. I think Flores will have a good game plan, but on the flip side, I do think Thomas Brown will have a good game plan for Flores, and part of that is slowing down the offense. Screen passes, what a concept. Getting the ball to DJ Moore. That was hard, huh? Hard for them before. Last week they got him the ball, started moving it. Oh, weird. They used DeAndre Swift running the ball, mixing it in. And oh, two, did you see Caleb Williams running the ball, Tuck? What an
I-
interesting concept that was.
Can I just
So,
point out? Can I just point out that
yeah.
I said that my handicap last week of your
No, I know. I
Packers?
just said that. I should have said that. It should
Oh,
have
I'm sorry.
mattered, and I was
I'm
wrong.
just saying. Just
I
saying it.
thought it would take a few weeks for them, but just slowing down the offense and not putting the
Yeah.
ball in Caleb's hands to throw the ball 30 times a game and all these long routes that
Uh,
they weren't blocking for, like that made a difference.
I like this Thomas Brown guy, man. I do.
Yeah, I liked what he did last week. So, and he drove them down the field. Caleb did. He played the best game he's played in 5 weeks. Like he got the ball down the field. He set them up to win the game. Matt Eberflus, moron. You can't take the moron out of Matt Eberflus, though. Like, you have a guy and a kicker in Cairo Santos who's pretty solid, but he's a low trajectory guy. They get the ball for a 46-yard field goal, so he's going to have to keep that low. They decide, hey, we don't need any more yards. We'll just start taking these. We don't need to run the ball, try to get it a little closer for the guy. No. So they end up with a blocked field goal off a low trajectory kick. That's Matt Eberflus effect. Not a good head coach. He is a good defensive coordinator. He will have this defense ready to play. Little wary on the offense, but the changes that they've made with Thomas Brown seem like they'll do just enough. Low scoring game. I like the under as well here at 39 and a half. I think it's way too many points in this game. I think you're looking at like a 16, 13, 17, 14, 17, 16, something in that range in this game. I think both teams are under 20. You're getting the hook here. You got to take it. 3.5 is way too much value. Um, Finally, Tuck, where do you beat the Bears? Well, that's running the ball down their throat. They're ninth against the pass, 23rd against the run. Minnesota right now is terrible running the ball. I'm not sure what's going on with Aaron Jones. He had one good game in his last four. He's averaging just 3.2 yards per carry over that. Um, I already said it earlier. I think we see the Sam Darnold slide continue. The Bears defense continue to keep them in this game. The offense doing just enough to be in this game. They cover the 3.5 spread at home. Give me the Bears plus 3.5 is my best bet.
All right. Well, there you go. I like it too. It's just a weird fishy line on top of that.
It
Like,
opened 5.5,
yeah. Oh wow. Okay. I like it.
and I
Yeah.
got some. I was waiting for it.
Yeah,
I
I
played 5.5, 4.5, and 3.5. I'm heavy on this game.
now for the 3.5, Matt, what scale would you have in terms of magnitude of your best bet? Because last week
Best.
you said best of the season. Where's this at?
Um, no,
Range.
we're right there now. Same as Steelers.
Typical best bet range.
Yeah.
Not like Duke like in that last week.
I'm combined at 5.5 and 4.5, 3.5 to be a little bit over. So I'm in it with them. That said, I at 3.5, it's a
A normal best bet. That's
normal
all I'm
best
trying
bet.
to.
You
That's
gotta be
all
a
I'm getting
normal.
at.
It's
Okay.
not a Steelers plus 3.5, but it's
Okay.
close. It really is close.
Okay.
I love this game. I don't understand it. Like Minnesota, like the third straight road game versus third straight home game thing is
Yeah. It's a
nuts to
good
me.
formula. Good formula.
And
You can
Darnold's not playing in good football right now.
no, not at all. Not at all. Maybe Justin Jefferson could get a friggin' touchdown. Just a
Not Sunday. Jalen Johnson. You'll remember that name after Sunday. Anybody watching that game will remember Jalen Johnson when he takes one home and Justin Jefferson doesn't.
oh, there you go. Yeah, Jefferson has what, like one touchdown this year? It's on my
Well,
fantasy team.
he scored like the first 5 weeks and hasn't scored since, I don't think.
Uh
He was hot
oh
early
yeah, you're right. He's got 5 touchdowns, but he has not scored
since week
since
5, right?
Detroit. Yeah, week six.
6. So he scored
But
5 in the first 6. Yeah, that sounds right.
4 straight games without a touchdown now.
They'll
There's one
probably get in the
touchdown
end
for
zone now.
Sunday.
Watch, just because I said that he'll score.
300 yards,
You're welcome.
4 touchdowns.
You're welcome. He'll score now that I said that. You're good. 200 yards receiving. Vikings win 31-3.
Yeah.
If the Bears get blown out in this game, by the way, I
Oh,
I
oh,
will be I will
they're not
be an
gonna get
angry
blown.
person next week.
They're not gonna get blown out.
Joe
This is
Murray's
like,
gonna have to listen to that rant real quick.
yeah, this is like the grossness that you said. This is a gross, like barely under 20 game. Just grossness.
I think get the hook. This is not it's not a best bet under 3. First of all, I make the Vikings a 2-point favorite, just to give you that context. I still think the Bears are gonna win this game. Somehow, some way, I think the Bears win this game.
Do you have a money line sprinkle?
I haven't played the money line yet,
Okay. All right.
but I think they might win the game.
All
I'm
right.
very confident in 3.5. 3 is the lowest point.
All right.
Three's good.
Quick recap of the likes spike for me. Bucks -5.5, Dolphins -7, Arizona +1, Rams Eagles under 49.5 for you, Matt. Indy +7.5, Green Bay -2.5 against your terrible 49ers team.
Easy,
Uh,
all right. They're gonna win the game outright now that I bet the Packers. It's part of the logic.
Philadelphia -2.5 and Chargers +3. Best bet for me, Chiefs -10.5, Chicago +3.5 for Matt. Any final thoughts, Matt?
Nothing. Excited for this week. Excited for the podcast next week. Excited for Thanksgiving.
Yep. And yep, we'll welcome in Joe Murray and we'll figure out when we're going to actually record. Probably going to shoot for that Tuesday night, publish it
Cool.
on Wednesday. And we'll talk about the Thanksgiving slate too. We'll definitely touch on that like we did last year. And maybe we'll give out official likes
We
for
did give out official likes for Thanksgiving last year. I think we
yeah.
we made it like one of our 5 that we had
We
to
have
do.
to. We have to. It's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
We should have a pick in every game, like a separate thing.
That I like. I think maybe we do like a Thursday morning Instagram or it's Wednesday night Instagram, something we can do. We'll figure it out. We'll do
Or
something for the Thanksgiving games
we could just like do it first and then
or on the
do
podcast.
the
Yeah, yeah,
rest.
yeah. That's fine.
We can have fun with it. All right. So we'll
All
welcome
right.
in Joe Murray, the Sports Hub, next week, and we'll have the Thanksgiving slate and the rest of the Week 13 picks next week. Again, please subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on our socials and leave us comments on Spotify, ratings on Apple, comments on YouTube, the whole shebang, please. Please do that for us. It helps us immensely, and we appreciate everybody for listening. And we'll talk to you guys again next week. Good luck. Bye-bye.
See ya.